Mhm. Talked about CPR. CPR, you all have already gotten your dailies? Good. We do it every year to remind you. Do y'all remember how many compressions? And then and then and then yeah, it's a really fun thing. All right. Huh? Obvious signs of life. Yes, if they start pushing you away, don't keep doing it. Right? So all right, so we talk about control of hemorrhage. What is hemorrhage? Hey, wow, it says that on there right there. Is abnormal discharge of blood. So they are leaking. They are dripping blood. So direct pressure, elevation, pressure points. Okay? Where's going to a pressure point? Well, what's underneath there? Boom, 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 boom. Pulse. That's exactly an artery. Your pulse is your pulse comes through an artery. So push down on that artery, or right behind it, right in front of it, or whichever direction it is. If it's here, you've got one here. Tourniquet's going to take it, and it's going to like squeeze everything out. But plain and simply, if you're doing a tourniquet, you are not just stopping blood where it's leaking. You're stopping blood everywhere. Gravity is a great source. So if you've got some place where you can elevate it, get it above the heart, make it tougher, and use gravity to help with your deal. Put them all together, and they got a better chance. So you need to control hemorrhage as far as direct pressure, elevation, and pressure points. Now, shock is not when you put your finger in the wall socket. Well, I mean, it is, but that's not the shock we're talking about. All right? Shock is a possibility with any injury. More likely to see shock with an increased severity of injury. So if you go and you see an injury and you go, oh my God, you're going to freak that person out, and that could send them into shock. Okay? So, most important clue to shock is the recognition of a severe injury. When shock occurs, the quantity of plasma moves from the blood vessels into the tissue space, leaving the blood cells within the vessels, causing stagnation and slowing of blood flow. Okay. Anybody ever go and give blood? Okay. No. Or how about give blood even just to do some testing? If you're sick, let's see if you got strep. You're sick, let's see if you've got staph. Right? They put it in that little deal, a little spinner thing. Is that what it's called? Centrifuge? So it spins it out. They pull it out, and all the red stuff's down at the bottom, and all that other stuff is part, hey, it came out of you. Okay? Well, that's all the other goodies, right? Which is going to be in your plasma. So your plasma decides, I've had enough. I'm just going to go and jump over here to the tissue. Okay? Now, let's talk about like motor oil. Okay? Anybody driving a car? Nobody driving a car yet? You got to have motor oil in your motor. If you don't, it will break down. The friction within the motor will cause it to seize and stop. Okay. Now, it's what it lubricates. Now, if I am in Texas, can I use a 10W50? Probably. All right. But if I'm in Minnesota, do I want to use a 10W50? You want like a 10W5 if you're in Minnesota, right? The difference between a 5 and a 40 or a 50? All right. Well, 10W50 is a thicker motor oil than a 10W5. 10W40 is thinner than a 10W50, but it's still thicker than a 10W5. All right. So if you're up in Minnesota where it gets cold and you have a thicker motor oil, it's going to be harder when you start the motor before the motor gets warm for it to lubricate everything. Okay. So when we have our blood just pumping away, we're at 10W5, just cruising along. All right. We start pulling out plasma, it gets thicker and it makes it tougher to push through the body. That's what we're talking about as far as shock. The plasma separates, it goes into the tissues, and now you're having a tough time slowing the blood flow. So there's not enough oxygen carrying blood cells available to the tissue, and then particularly those to the nervous system, which can cause a general collapse of the vascular system and widespread tissue death. The vascular system is your breathing, all right, and you're pushing that blood around. Now, if it gets to where you don't have the blood has less volume because the non-blood cells move away and get into the tissues, then you don't have the volume to keep your heart rate going or your blood pressure up. Now you got trouble. You're in trouble with shock. So what kind of shock is there? Hypo means what? Lower, below. Hypovolemic, all right, is you have a loss of blood. You go into shock because you're bleeding. Hypovolemic shock. Psychogenic, all right, it's fainting, a temporary dilation of the blood vessels. You see this when it's the big person at the Six Flags waiting in line. They have never been out in the sun for over a year. They've been sitting there watching TV. Judge Judy, who's not on the Supreme Court, just to let you know. 10% of high school seniors, college seniors, believe that Judge Judy is on the Supreme Court. Yes, crazy. But that person then dilates, they have heat syncope, and they faint. Now, anaphylactic shock, it is allergies. Severe allergic reaction caused by food or an insect bite, etc. So, if we've got somebody who is deathly allergic to peanuts, or is deathly allergic to bees, wasps, ant bites, etc., okay, then that is an anaphylactic shock. You certainly, with those bullets, should know which one is which when it comes to test time. All right, musculoskeletal assessment. So if somebody gets hurt, you need to make a quick on-site evaluation using your primary and your secondary survey. One, are they ABCs working? If they're crying and flopping around, their ABCs are working, right? Now they're flopping around and they've got 3 elbows, and one of them is supposed to be the only elbow they have, but they've got this one there, this one, the real one, and this one here. There's your secondary survey. You know, they go, hey, we got to do something about 3 elbows. Okay? Pay attention to the mechanism of injury, sounds, their history they give you, your interview, and palpated tissue. Palpated tissue is tissue that you touch. Palpate is to put your hands on and feel. All right? So, had a guy come in. I mean, one of the easiest things is if somebody punches something, take it, you palpate, and then you can see if there's any shearing going across with the bone. That might be this bone, all the way here, all the way here. All right? Paying attention to how the mechanism of injury happened is when you get experience and you see these injuries over and over and over, then you get an idea, oh, well, I remember those were caused by this. Now, and it's just really, and then, of course, the palpation is something that is a necessity. You've got to touch around the injury to find out if there really is one or if there isn't. I had one kid, we thought he probably had subluxed his shoulder where it came out and went back in. And then I went over here and I pushed up on his humerus, and you could feel his humerus increase about 1/4 of an inch. You feel it come up, you feel it drop down, up and down. I think he's got a fracture now. He went to the x-ray, he had a fracture of his humerus. And he was a freshman, and he was the toughest kid I might have ever seen. He never winced, didn't cry, didn't bellyache, complain. Yeah, it hurts. Golly, that hurts a lot. So now we make an assessment. We're not making a diagnosis. Who does diagnosis? Doctors. Whether it's right or wrong, that's who makes the diagnosis. Okay? But we'll make an assessment about the injury from what we see. Is it a serious injury? Do they need an ambulance? Am I calling 911? Are we taking a face mask off and doing CPR right there? Or is this something that's not so serious? We can give them crutches or put them in a splint, and they don't have to go to the ER tonight, but yet they can go see an orthopedist tomorrow. I mean, if you've got a fracture, depending upon what the fracture looks like, we'll also tell you whether they see a orthopedist today, tomorrow, or if they're going to the emergency room. All right, your assessment and your decision will help you with the type of first aid and immobilization necessary. Also, warrants immediate physician referral. If I've got somebody who's got a tibia fibula fracture, they need to go. Yeah, they can't walk. Exactly. It's probably got some displacement going on. And what do we learn about bones when they break? They do hurt, but what else? They're sharp. Yes. And we don't have an x-ray machine here, so we can't tell. All right? And by doing our assessment, we need to know what kind of transportation, either to the sideline, to the training room, to the trailer, to the ambulance, to the hospital, etc. So there's a lot of information that you're going to pick up. Price. Why? Absolutely. You need to know those letters. Protection, rice, ice. Protection, rest, ice, compression, elevation. All right? One of the biggest things to help keep swelling from accumulating in an extremity is elevation. If you're able to have somebody elevate, within hours, it's going to be half the size of what it was. When they get up in the morning, the swelling is not near as bad as what it was. But by the time when they get to school and they come down to athletics, now it's all swollen up again because of what? The blood flow? Gravity. Exactly. Gravity is pulling it down. So there are some people today that say that they don't want to use rice or the ice part of it because they say you need to have swelling because swelling brings in good things to help heal. Well, here's the whole thing after talking with the physician. He said, even if you sprained your ankle, right now, the time you get on this table and I can look at it, you'll already have enough swelling in there. There's no need in letting it continue to swell. But it'll get bigger if you don't ice it. Huh? Well, first off is that we're only just a few generations away from running around with saber-toothed tigers. Okay? Well, think about it. I go back and I think of my grandfather, which puts him born in 1905. One of them was 1905. The other is 11. Both of them would have been over 100 years old by now. Let's go back even farther to a great-grandfather. So he's in the there's 120 years. So that's father, grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather. I'm going back there. I think he was born in 1845. Yes. So that's only 4 down from where it's come to me. 1845. Okay? So that is 150 years. So another 150 years is 300 years ago. Well, we didn't have X-ray machines even when 1845 was cruising around. And if you ever find out about X-ray machines, they could have saved the president, but it didn't. Um, Garfield, maybe? So, huh? Yeah, something was. Anyways, and then also learn about stethoscopes. It's pretty cool. So if you go back 8 generations, you're looking at 300 years ago. All right. So that's 1600s. All right. Uh, Dentistry. Yeah. Okay. It's not like you went to the dentist. And if you did go to somebody who called himself a dentist, they just yanked the sucker out after they gave you a pint of whiskey. Yeah. So medicine has come a long way, but biology and etc. does not change that quickly. So that swelling, when you got that swelling in the first time, well, I'm sure it was given to you to make sure that it told you, 1, something's wrong, and 2, that you're going to continue to hurt yourself by using this. All right, but it also brings in white blood cells to help fight infection and help put. We get enough of that in the very first instant of the injury. We don't need to have the rest to keep our range of motion down. We've come a long way. So, okay. All right. Here's a rapid form immobilizer. We also call it our what? Yes, our splint bag. So, with our splint bag, we were able to do what? Okay. All right. With our splint bag, feel what's in there. Feel, I mean, certainly don't try and puncture it because the blue X, it is little beanbag things. It's styrofoam. Yeah. Fortunate for us, there's a lot of places as far as high schools that barely have 1 set, and I think we have 5. All right. So 1 set would be a cervical. This would be your cervical one. All right. So now, how does this work? Okay. Works with this little air pump. Pump it up.
No, you suck the air out of it.
Yeah. So let's have that one there. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to say that he has injured his arm. Okay? And since he's injured his arm, we're suspecting that he does have a fracture, or maybe even might be a dislocation. All right? Now, let me see what this next one is. This one talks about rapid form immobilizers. And look at that one. That one is a balloon. Yeah, it's an air splint. Okay? So look at that one, and then this one. Okay? Yes, this is why we use this one. We have to have enough air in it to make sure that it's pliable. We try and get all the little beanbag balls, as he puts it, okay, in a position to where It's not all in one space, all in the other, so we push it out. And then what we'll do is we have the athlete, we'll put it in here, and it doesn't matter how it works. He doesn't have to be straight. He could actually have it where we've got a fracture and we go, oh, holy smokes. Somebody grab it there. All right? And so now what we want to do is cover it up. Now, when we're covering it up, we don't want to necessarily try and hurt the athlete. But you certainly must have what down here? You got to have an opening for what? Well, no. We put this on too tight. It has to have blood circulation. We clip this together. Now, watch what happens. This is actually pulling air out. Okay? So, we're telling the athlete, tell me when you feel it up against your skin. Okay. Don't let me get it too tight. I don't think you can get it too tight, but you know the paradigm of I'm taking air out of something. All right? So, we've pretty much taken all the air out. We pull that off. All right. If you will, come forward. All right. Now, are you able to bend this here? Yeah, that's pretty amazing stuff. All right. Now, when you want to take this off, here's the thing. You don't even have to have that part. You can undo the Velcro, right? And peel it open. There you go. Yeah. Now you're able to take that off. And now you can see all the little beanbag thingies in there even better. You suck the air out. So then, when it comes back from the hospital, and of course, you always tell the parents, here's my card, here's how you get a hold of me, but if you will, please get this back to us. You put it back on, but on this end, instead of taking air out, it will put air back in. So when we put the air back in, all those little beanbag thingies, little beanbag balls, they've got room to move around. And now, serious, air's gas. All right, so there we go. I don't like using the other ones. You very well may not even see these anymore. But as I blow this up, it only knows to inflate to the shape of the balloon. So if it inflates to the shape of the balloon, if there's any deformity, it's going to be pushing that bone back. So yeah, it's going to hurt quite a bit. All right, spine board. Suspected neck injury. You've got to determine if there's a pulse and breathing, obviously. Okay? So we determine if the pulse and their breathing. You got to get the spine board. Go from the spine board. If they're prone, laying on their face, you need to log roll the athlete onto the spine board. All right? To roll the athlete, you need 4 or 5 people, and you have to have a captain who's going to bark out the orders. All right? As I commit is we don't remove the helmet, and you do not start traction, either traction by pulling their head or pulling on their arms. If you start the traction, it's imperative that you hold that same tension the entire time that the ride is going until a doctor tells you not to. Because now, if I've got something displaced, I pull traction, what if a nerve gets caught in there or whatnot? And now I let loose and it comes back down. So it's not a good thing to be doing traction. Not on injuries. So there's somebody who's laying prone, all right? One person at the front is the one at the head is the one giving orders, all right? Now, we're going to try and keep his head in the same position as we roll them over. So let's get the spine board, put it up next to them, okay? And as we push over, and then just let the spine, they come right over on top of the spine board. All right? Now, ours has these little dealies on it too. These little cushions to help keep the head immobilized. Best thing is if they're needing that, you need to get their face mask off. So cut their face mask off. If you don't have the Velcro straps there for their head, what can you use? Okay, settle down. Oh, yeah, tape. Make sure they're secure. One of the worst things that you could ever have happen is you pick him up and they slide off the spine board like they're a pizza pie. Not to me. Like I've told you, if I've got somebody who's laying prone, if they've got their ABCs, they're going to stay prone. I'm going to call 911. I'm going to get people who have done this as opposed to people who have not done this. Okay? There's no need in us spine boarding them and then the hospital people to spine board whatsoever. So, all go down at the same time. You're going to go on a count. The man at the front or the woman at the front is going to be the one that's going to count it off. We're up on 3 on my count. Ready? 1, 2, 3. And up you go. All right? This man here is keeping it all together, holding his head, making sure that it's not being rotated one way or the other. Now, if we need to move an athlete who does not have a spine problem, you can do this. All right? Have you all seen this before? Now, you've seen, I don't know if you see in the front when I'm coming back over there to you. But those poor people who end up to where I'm having to help ambulate like this is they are cruising along and I'm giving them an atomic wedgie because I grab their waist on their pants, okay? And I am helping them as they go along while holding that pant leg. If for some reason they start to fall, I can help them. I can pull them to me. If I'm just got my arm around like so and saying, okay, come on, I'm holding you here, and I'm just cruising along without taking this and holding on to something, they very well can fall or pull me down with them. And that would be a really hysterical thing to see in the crowd. And they go, ooh. So, crutches. All right. Let's see. Those are too tall. Crutches. Okay. So, you might need crutches. Most of the time, the crutches are either given out here in the training room after we've evaluated them. Certainly not on the field, but can be on the sideline, right? And if you'll notice, they sell these crutches for like $60 to $70 a pair when you go and take them at the hospital. Yeah. Yeah, how much do we get them for? How about like $11 a pair? So, what's part of our job? Taking care of our people, and our people are those that are here in Magnolia. So we want to make sure that we get the crutches that they better buy. Pretty simple as far as how to set them up. You push them, rotate it, and so forth. Now, let's see if these are, so these go from 5'2" to 5'10". Okay, so Big T over here, he's hurt his ankle real bad. We want to put him on crutches, and so I'm going to ask you, how tall are you? And he tells me 5'5", and I am taking these and I'm going to put them to 5'6". Why am I going to put him at 5'6" if he just told me 5'5"? Huh? Yeah, but what's he wearing? Do you think do people get their height taken when they have their shoes on? Oh, but he's wearing shoes. Ah. So now I go ahead and I put him at least an inch taller. So he stands up and he's got these here. All right. And as we put here next to him, we want them about 6 inches out. You've got all these books and everything in the way, and I don't need you to face them so we can do this and not take your acting position so serious. All right, so stand up straight. Two fingers. Two fingers between axillary, which is armpit, and here. That's exactly 2 fingers, but let's go ahead and let's see if we moved it up just a little bit, if it would help him from being so bent over. Oh, that doesn't look too bad. That looks a little better. Okay, so he's not 5'5" anymore. He has grown in the last year to where he's 5'7". All right, here's the next thing I want to do. I want you to take your hands and put them on the outside of the crutch. All right, this right here at the very end of your hand needs to be right here. All right, you standing up straight or you slouching? And he's a little close, but because get in your crutch position, you need to have a little bend in your elbow. Otherwise, you're going to be worn out. All right? He's like a in-betweener. I could leave it here or I could actually move it up, and he wouldn't notice that much of a difference. We're going to leave it there. All right? And then we're going to explain to him. Have you ever had your arm fall asleep? You wake up and it's all tingly? It's called paresthesia. It's not a complete anesthesia to where you can't feel anything. It's para, meaning partial. Sort of like a paralegal. You're really not a legal, as in lawyer. You're a partial legal. You're paralegal. Paramedic. Got it? Well, partial. So, if he keeps doing this and does it over and over and over to the point to where he irritates this, he can actually cause nerve tissue or his nerve tissue to scar up. Causes that scar to come across his nerve tissue, and that feeling can become permanent. So you always tell them, if you're going to lean on them, put your arms straight, roll your sleeves up, show the girls who's been working out this week in the weight room with your triceps, all right, to keep you off of doing that. The other thing that you need to know is that water. These have little suction cup type thingies on here. If they get wet, they are really slick. If it's on finished concrete, which that's what this is. You see this inside of stores, garages, buildings. If you are on linoleum, tile, hardwood, laminate wood, etc., smooth surfaces, if this is wet, you will slide right on out, and the next thing you know, you're going to bust your nose. Okay? So, make sure you explain that to them. Also tell them that you must have good core strength because you're going to take this, and if it's your right leg that's injured, you hold your right leg up. Crutches go out about 6 to 12 inches in front. All right? And then you use your arms and your core strength to work through. So core, if you've got somebody who doesn't have much core strength, you're going to find out that they have a tough time working crutches. Now, here's our next thing. He's feeling better, but he still needs a little help with his crutches. So we want to do partial weight bearing. That was non-weight bearing because he had it completely up. So let's do partial weight bearing. Tyler, have you ever danced a waltz? Somewhat. When you dance a waltz, it's to a 3 count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the count of the music. All right? So what I want you to do is I want you to waltz with your crutches. All right? Your right foot is the one that's hurt. So 1 is the crutches. 2 is the injured side. So that way when I pick up my uninjured side, I have my crutches to help my injured side. So it's 1, 2, 3. As I bring everything forward, I'm on my uninjured side again. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right? That is partial weight bearing, and you use the crutches to divvy out how much you want on your injured side. Is that it? Just crutches? Okay. Well, that seems to be good.